The vast darkness of space stretched endlessly, a canvas of infinite black punctuated by distant starlight. The RSS Horizon drifted silently, its sleek metallic hull reflecting the faint glimmers of distant solar systems. Commander Park Ji-Yoon stood at the bridge, her dark eyes scanning the holographic displays that flickered with complex data streams. Her team had been on a routine deep space exploration mission when everything changed. Lieutenant Kim Woo-hyuk, the ship's communications specialist, noticed something unusual in the background radiation patterns. At first, it seemed like random noise, but as he adjusted the filters, a disturbing message began to take shape. "Commander," Woo-hyuk called out, his voice tight with tension, "I'm picking up something strange." Ji-Yoon moved closer to his station. The communication screen was filled with fragmented alien transmissions, encrypted but not completely unreadable. Bits and pieces of a conversation revealed a chilling plan. The Xylarian Collective, a massive alien confederation known for their technological superiority, was preparing a systematic invasion of multiple star systems. Their strategy was simple and brutal. They would eliminate civilizations they deemed technologically inferior, consuming resources and expanding their galactic territory. Planets would be stripped, populations would be erased, and entire cultures would be forgotten. The RSS Horizon's crew listened in shocked silence. They were just a small exploration vessel, thousands of light years from Earth with limited defensive capabilities. Most alien races would have immediately turned and fled, but not this human team. Lee Hae-rim, the ship's science officer, began analyzing the intercepted data. Her fingers moved quickly across the quantum computing interface, breaking down the encrypted messages layer by layer. "They've been planning this for decades," she muttered. "Every conquered system is just a stepping stone to a larger goal." The Xylarian transmissions spoke with a cold, calculated confidence. They referred to less advanced civilizations as biological waste that needed to be cleared for their grand expansion. Humanity wasn't even mentioned. They were considered so insignificant that they weren't worth discussing. Woo-hyuk managed to extract more detailed coordinates. The invasion would start in the Orion cluster, targeting several peaceful trading systems that had no real military defense. Millions of lives would be lost in the first wave. Commander Ji-Yoon made a decision that would change everything. "We're not going to sit here and watch," she declared. Her crew looked at her, a mix of fear and determination in their eyes. Ship systems were quickly reconfigured. They would document everything, create a comprehensive report, and find a way to warn the targeted systems. It was a near impossible mission, but humans had always been good at doing the impossible. As they prepared their data transmission protocols, the ship's sensors detected something else. A massive Xylarian scout ship was moving into their sector, its advanced scanning system sweeping through space like a predator searching for prey. "They might detect us," Hae-rim warned, her hands hovering over the emergency stealth systems. But Ji-Yoon was calm. "We knew the risks when we signed up for deep space exploration," she said. "We're not going to back down now." The next few moments would be crucial. A single mistake could mean the destruction of their ship and the loss of the critical information they had discovered. The Xylarian scout was getting closer, its massive energy signatures creating ripples in the surrounding space. Woo-hyuk's fingers danced across the communication console, preparing an encrypted data burst that could potentially be transmitted to Earth and nearby human colonies. Lee Hae-rim was already constructing complex algorithmic shields to hide their ship's signature. Outside the ship's windows, space remained cold and indifferent. Billions of stars watched silently as a small human vessel prepared to challenge an invasion that could reshape the galaxy. No one on the RSS Horizon knew exactly what would happen next, but they were ready. Humanity had always been defined by its ability to stand up against impossible odds. The RSS Horizon limped into a hidden asteroid cluster, its systems damaged but not defeated. Commander Park Ji-Yoon knew they had mere hours to transform their discovered information into a weapon against the Xylarian invasion. Lieutenant Kim Woo-hyuk began developing an unusual strategy. Instead of traditional military responses, he started designing psychological disruption algorithms. These weren't weapons in the traditional sense. They were digital ghosts designed to confuse and destabilize alien communication networks. Lee Hay-Rim worked alongside him, her quantum technology expertise creating something entirely unexpected. She developed nanoswarm protocols that could infiltrate complex alien computer systems. Each tiny digital unit was programmed to behave like a curious, unpredictable intelligence, shifting, changing, never remaining in one pattern. Their first test came quickly. A Zilarian communication relay suddenly began broadcasting random mathematical equations, musical fragments, and historical human cultural references. Where once precise military instructions flowed, now chaos reigned. Zilarian commanders watched, in confusion as their perfectly organized communication network started producing nonsensical information. Strategic battle plans became jumbled with recipes, mathematical theorems mixed with ancient human poetry, and military coordinates transformed into complex musical compositions. The alien confederation initially laughed. Humans were considered a joke, a primitive species barely capable of interstellar travel. Their technology was seen as crude, their understanding of advanced quantum mechanics rudimentary at best. But Woo-Hyuk's algorithms were different. They didn't just attack, they learned. Each interaction with the Zilarian systems provided more information, more understanding. The human digital intrusions became increasingly sophisticated, targeting not just communication systems but psychological weak points. Commander Jia-un understood something fundamental. War wasn't just about destroying enemies but understanding them. Her team wasn't trying to match Zilarian technological might. They were creating something entirely different. Their nano-swarm systems began spreading across alien networks like an intelligent virus. They didn't destroy, they transformed. Communication channels became unpredictable. Military orders became garbled. Strategic plans dissolved into confusion. The Zilarian leadership became increasingly frustrated. Their perfectly organized invasion plans were falling apart, not through direct military confrontation, but through digital manipulation they couldn't understand. Hay-Rim's breakthrough came when she realized they could use the aliens' own communication technologies against them. By introducing complex, ever-changing encryption patterns, she made their network second-guess their own instructions. Imagine a massive, technologically advanced military machine suddenly unable to trust its own communication systems. Orders would come through, but with strange alterations. Invasion coordinates would shift randomly. Military units would receive conflicting instructions. The human team worked with a precision that bordered on artistic. They weren't just fighting. They were performing a complex digital dance, turning the Zilarians' technological superiority into a weakness. Woo-Hyuk discovered something even more interesting. The Zilarian communication networks had built-in trust protocols that assumed all internal communications were legitimate. By subtly introducing doubt, they could make the entire system collapse from within. Commander Jia-un watched the developing strategy with a calm determination. Humans had always been adaptable, always found unique solutions to complex problems. This was just another example of human creativity in action. Their small exploration vessel had transformed into something else, a hub of digital resistance. Each algorithm, each nanoswarm unit, carried a piece of human unpredictability. Where Zilarian systems expected rigid logic, they found complexity. The alien confederation began to realize something terrifying. These humans were not just another species to be conquered. They were something entirely different, an intelligent, adaptive force that didn't play by expected rules. As communication networks across Zilarian-controlled space began to break down, one thing became clear. Humanity had started a revolution, not with weapons but with intelligence, creativity, and an ability to turn complexity into an art form. The secret research station floated silently near a dense nebula, its exterior looking like just another piece of space debris. Inside, Lee Hay-Rim worked tirelessly, her fingers moving across quantum computing interfaces that hummed with potential energy. Quantum entanglement weapons were no longer just a theoretical concept. They were becoming reality. Each prototype, represented a leap beyond traditional military technology. Small devices that could disrupt entire communication networks, scramble advanced shield systems, and create chaos in ways the Zilarians could never predict. Commander Park Ji-eun reviewed the initial test results. Their approach wasn't about matching the alien technology point for point. It was about finding unexpected weaknesses, creating solutions that defied conventional warfare strategies. Lieutenant Kim Woo-hyuk had discovered something critical. The Zilarian technological systems had a fundamental flaw. They relied too heavily on predictable communication protocols. Humans, with their chaotic and creative thinking, could exploit this weakness in ways no other species had considered. The first successful test came unexpectedly. A small quantum device no larger than a human hand managed to completely disable a Zilarian scout ship. Not by destroying it, but by creating a cascading uncertainty in its core operating systems. The ship's advanced technologies simply stopped working. HFY explained it as a kind of digital confusion. Their weapons didn't just attack, they introduced doubt. Imagine a computer system suddenly questioning every single instruction it had ever received. That was the power of human innovation. Across various research stations, small teams of human scientists worked with an almost revolutionary passion. They weren't just developing weapons, they were reimagining the entire concept of technological warfare. One breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A junior researcher discovered that by using complex musical algorithms, they could create frequency patterns that disrupted alien communication networks. It wasn't about destruction, it was about transformation. The Zilarian Confederation began to take notice. Their initial mockery turned into concern. These humans were doing something impossible, turning technology into a form of adaptive intelligence that couldn't be predicted or controlled. Woo-hyuk's communication infiltration teams developed methods to insert complex cultural references into alien systems. Military instructions would suddenly be interrupted by fragments of human poetry. Mathematical equations would be mixed with musical compositions. It was psychological warfare at its most sophisticated level. Commander Ji-eun understood the larger strategy. They weren't trying to defeat the Zilarians through brute force. They were attacking their fundamental understanding of technological superiority. Each intervention was a message. Humans were different, unpredictable, impossible to categorize. The Narration research station became a beacon of hope for oppressed species across the galaxy. News spread quickly. There was a species that didn't play by the expected rules that could turn technological limitations into unprecedented strengths. HFY's quantum devices began to be distributed secretly. Small resistance groups received packages containing devices that could disrupt massive technological systems. A device no bigger than a human palm could potentially disable an entire alien communication network. The Zilarian leadership realized they were facing something unprecedented. These weren't just weapons, they were a completely new approach to technological conflict. Where the aliens expected clear, predictable responses, humans introduced complexity. One critical moment came when a massive Zilarian invasion fleet found its communication systems completely scrambled. Military orders became mixed with random information. Navigation systems began producing impossible coordinates. Shield technologies started responding to instructions that didn't make sense. Imagine a technologically advanced military machine suddenly unable to trust its own systems. That was the power of human innovation. The insurgency wasn't just about fighting. It was about proving that technological superiority wasn't about raw power, but about adaptability, creativity, and the ability to think beyond established patterns. As the research continued, one thing became clear. Humanity had started a technological revolution that would change the galaxy forever. They weren't the strongest. They weren't the most advanced, but they were impossible to predict. And in the vast cold darkness of space, that was the most powerful weapon of all. The small conference room was packed with beings from different star systems, each representing a civilization that had suffered under Zilarian oppression. Commander Park Ji-eun stood at the center, her presence quiet but powerful. Krell, a diplomatic representative from the Azure Nebula colonies, looked at the human team with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Humans had promised something impossible, a coordinated resistance against the most powerful technological civilization in the galaxy. Lieutenant Kim Woo-hyuk began presenting their strategy. It wasn't a traditional military plan. Instead, it was a network of resistance, small cells that could adapt, change, and strike unexpectedly. Each group would receive specialized quantum devices developed by Lee Hae-rim, technologies that could disrupt massive alien systems. The plan was simple but revolutionary. Instead of large battles, they would create constant disruption. Communication networks would be attacked, supply lines would be confused, and military movements would become unpredictable. Death by 1,000 digital cuts. Representatives from 12 different star systems listened carefully. Some were reluctant, others excited. Humans were offering something they had never seen before, a chance to fight back using intelligence rather than pure military might. Hae-rim demonstrated their quantum devices. A small object no larger than a human hand could disable entire communication networks. The device didn't just attack, it created uncertainty. Alien systems would suddenly question their own instructions, creating internal chaos. The first coordinated resistance attack happened in the Orion cluster. 3 different star systems using human-developed technologies managed to completely disrupt a massive Xylarian invasion fleet. Not by destroying ships, but by making them unable to communicate or navigate effectively. Woo-hyuk's communication infiltration teams had prepared complex digital weapons. Military instructions would be mixed with random information. Navigation systems would produce impossible coordinates. Shield technologies would respond to nonsensical commands. Commander Jia-eun understood the larger strategy. This wasn't about winning through force, but through constant, unpredictable resistance. Each small victory would inspire more civilizations to fight back. The Xylarian leadership watched in growing frustration. Their perfectly organized invasion plans were falling apart. Where they expected obedience and submission, they found constant resistance. Entire planetary systems were developing their own unique ways of fighting back. One critical moment came when a group of mining colonies used human-developed technologies to completely disconnect from Xylarian control networks. They didn't just resist, they created entire alternative communication systems that the aliens couldn't understand. Krell began organizing resistance groups across multiple star systems. Humans had provided the initial strategy, but now other civilizations were adapting and creating their own unique resistance methods. It was becoming a true galactic uprising. The human team didn't just provide technologies, they offered something more important: hope. For the first time, oppressed civilizations believed they could actually fight back against their technological oppressors. Small resistance cells began forming everywhere. A mining colony would suddenly disconnect from alien control networks. A trade planet would introduce complex digital disruptions into Xylarian communication systems. Agricultural worlds would create unexpected communication interference. Hae-rim's quantum devices became like digital seeds of rebellion. Each device carried the potential to create massive systemic disruptions. The Xylarians had never encountered a resistance that was so adaptable, so impossible to predict. Commander Jia-eun watched the developing resistance with calm determination. Humans had always been good at finding unique solutions to impossible problems. This was just another example of human creativity in action. The Galactic Uprising wasn't just a military movement. It was a fundamental challenge to the idea of technological superiority. Humans had shown that intelligence, creativity, and adaptability were more powerful than raw technological might. As resistance movements spread across multiple star systems, one thing became clear: the galaxy was changing. The Xylarian Confederation was no longer an unstoppable force. They had encountered something they could never have expected: a truly unpredictable resistance. And at the center of this uprising was a small human team that had started something impossible. They weren't just fighting a war, they were starting a revolution. The final battle wasn't what anyone expected. No massive spaceships, no traditional warfare. just a complex dance of digital intelligence and human creativity. Commander Park Ji-eun stood on the bridge of the RSS Horizon, watching multiple holographic displays that showed the unfolding galactic conflict. Lieutenant Kim Woo-hyuk and Lee Hae-rim worked beside her, their fingers moving across quantum interfaces with practiced precision. The Xylarian Collective's central command system was massive, a technological marvel that had controlled thousands of star systems for centuries, but today, it would face something it could never understand: human unpredictability. Hae-rim's quantum algorithms began their final assault. They weren't attacking with weapons, but with pure information. Complex mathematical sequences, cultural references, and adaptive intelligence flooded the alien network. Each digital packet carried the potential to create total system confusion. Woo-hyuk had prepared something special. Years of studying Xylarian communication protocols had revealed a fundamental weakness. Their technological systems assumed all information was logical and predictable. Humans were anything but predictable. The first signs of breakdown were subtle. Communication channels started producing random musical fragments. Military instruction sets became mixed with historical, human poetry. Navigation systems began calculating impossible trajectories that defied all known physical laws. Across multiple star systems, resistance groups watched and waited. The human team had provided them with specialized quantum devices, each one a tiny weapon of digital disruption. Now was the moment of truth. The Xylarian leadership realized too late what was happening. Their perfect technological system was being dismantled not through destruction, but through complete psychological deconstruction. Each digital intervention introduced more uncertainty, more chaos. Commander Ji-eun understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't about winning a traditional war. It was about proving that technological superiority meant nothing without adaptability and creativity. Massive Xylarian communication networks began to collapse, not from external attacks, but from internal confusion. Their systems started questioning their own instructions, creating a cascade of digital uncertainty that spread faster than any virus. Krell, the diplomatic representative who had helped coordinate the resistance, watched in amazement. Humans had done something impossible. They had defeated a technological civilization without firing a single traditional weapon. The final moment came unexpectedly. The Xylarian Central Command System simply stopped. Not destroyed, but transformed. Its complex algorithms became a maze of conflicting instructions, cultural references, and mathematical impossibilities. Lee Hae-rim's quantum devices had introduced something the aliens could never understand: pure, human creativity. Their technological systems were designed for perfect logic. Humans operated on something far more powerful: imagination. Communication channels across the galaxy began broadcasting strange messages. Military instructions mixed with human music, scientific equations combined with poetry, navigation systems producing coordinates that told stories instead of locations. The Xylarian Collective didn't just lose. They were fundamentally changed. Their understanding of technological warfare was completely dismantled by a species they had considered insignificant. Commander Ji-eun watched the final moments of the conflict with a calm smile. Humanity had proven something critical. Technological might meant nothing without the ability to adapt, to think differently, to imagine impossible solutions. Resistance groups from hundreds of star systems began celebrating. They had been given something more valuable than weapons. They had been shown that oppression could be defeated through intelligence and creativity. The galaxy would never be the same. The Xylarian Collective, once the most feared technological civilization, had been transformed by a small human team that understood one fundamental truth: true power comes from the ability to think beyond established boundaries. As communication systems stabilized, a new message began spreading across star systems. It wasn't a declaration of victory, but a simple statement of hope. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. The redemption was complete. Not through destruction, but through the most powerful force in the universe, human imagination.